Hi guys. We're going to be continuing with the same types of problems that we were doing yesterday. Today I figured I would do a couple problems from your Delta Math to show you what type of work you should be doing when you're doing your tonight Delta Math. So yesterday you were supposed to work on level 1, and then today you had level 2 and level 3, and those are a little bit trickier. So I figured I'd do one sample from each problem so that you could see what the work's going to look like and what the expectation is. So let's start with level 2. So here's a level 2 problem. And I think the trickiest part about this problem is trying to find the common base. So the exponents are not too crazy, but those base numbers are really, really, really weird. And so what you need to do on these problems, just get out your whiteboard or a piece of scratch paper and factor tree. So I started with the biggest number because I knew that the smaller number had to show up somewhere within the bigger number because they have to have a common base. Otherwise, this problem can't be done. So I knew that somewhere I should find the second number. So I did the larger number, which was 262,144. And I divided by 2. And I divided by 2 and I divided by 2 until, I couldn't divide by 2 anymore until I got down to just 2 times 2. So I just did a ginormous factor tree. And then when I was done, I counted up how many 2's did I have, and since they were all 2's, I can just write this as 2 to a power. And it turns out that that one is 2 to the power of 18. Okay. So I'm going to be able to replace 262,144 with 2 to the power of 18. Now, the really cool thing that happened while I was doing my factor tree was I also got the second number. It's right here. 32768. So while I was factoring the larger number, the smaller number also showed up. So I don't have to factor tree the smaller number because I kind of already did it. And, it starts right here. So these 3 2's are not going to count. And that means that this one must be 2 to the 15th. Okay. And again, that's probably going to be the most difficult part of these problems, these level 2 problems, which are assigned today. It's just figuring out that common base. So persevere, do your factor tree. If you get two different numbers, right? Like let's say you get a bunch of 2's and then you get a bunch of 3's, right? Just they should have the same exponents, just make that a 6 squared instead. Okay. So I think that'll help with your level 2 problems. And then once you figure out your common base, then it should become pretty simple after that. Now you only have to get one of these correct tonight. So make sure that you're persevering and you're trying your best and you're putting in the effort on the first one, and then hopefully you'll get the first one right. So we said that the left side is going to turn into a 2 to the 18th. Now the right side does not turn into a 2 to the 15th. It was a fraction, and we talked about this yesterday. If we want to flip the fraction upside down, we need to make it a negative 15. So 2 to the negative 15th. And now this is just a continuation of what we were doing yesterday with just bigger numbers, right? So I'm going to distribute my 18 to the 3x and the 5. And I'm going to distribute my negative 15 to the 4 and the 14. Now that I have a common base of 2, I can cancel out the 2's. And I can write a new equation just saying that the exponents are equal. From here, I'm going to move all of my x's to the left side and all my numbers to the right side. And then I'm going to divide. Now, 120 is not evenly divisible by 114, so I am going to get a fraction for this problem. Delta Math does want a simplified fraction, so make sure that you are writing your answer as a fraction, not a decimal, especially if you have to round the decimal. Delta Math will count that as being wrong. So start with 120 over 114, and then we're going to divide by 2 again until you can't divide anymore. And this one turns into 20 over 19. So that's what I would type in as my final answer. So that's a level 2 problem. Again, I think that the most difficult part of a level 2 problem is just going to be finding that common base. And so make sure you have out your scratch paper and that you're doing a factor tree until you can't factor tree anymore. And then you also need to complete one level 3 problem. So let's take a look at an example of a level 3 problem. And the thing that's going to make a level 3 problem tricky is in the exponent, there is an x squared. This is called a quadratic section, which means that there's going to be an x squared as you are solving. Now that's going to affect us in the second half when we write our brand new equation. But for the first half, I can just do what I've been doing. Now these numbers are a lot smaller, so that's Pretty nice, easier to work with, right? And I've already got a prime number on the left. The number on the left is a 7. So I'm not going to factor tree that. And that means that 343 can be written as 7 to a power. In fact, that was on our list of numbers that I showed you in live class. So 343 is 7 to the third. And then since it's a fraction, I want to flip it. It's going to be 7 to the negative third. Since the left side was already a 7, I don't need to do anything with that. I don't need to change it. It's already the base that I want it to be. If you really, really wanted to, you can make it 7 to the first and then distribute a 1, but that's just extra work, and we don't want to do extra work. All right, since I don't have anything new on the left side, I'm just going to distribute that negative 3 on the right side. And now I have my common base of 7, and I will cancel. And so this is where these problems are going to get a little bit trickier. So I have an x squared in my equation, and we learned all the way back in like November, right around Thanksgiving, I think, so first semester, that if you have a problem with an x squared in it, you want to move everything to one side, set it equal to 0, and factor. So factoring is going to be required on the level 3 problem today. So if you want to grab your factoring book, you can. When we're factoring, it's in our best interest to have the x squared be positive. So I am not going to move everything to the left. I'm actually going to move everything to the right so that my x squared will turn into a positive x squared. That will make my factoring so much easier. And our first step of factoring is to find a GCF. And this one has a GCF. All the numbers are divisible by 2. So I'm going to start by factoring out a 2. Now I have a trinomial, so I can do x box. And 2 numbers that multiply to make 18 and add to make -9 are -6 and -3. Now remember, if the exponent is x squared, that means you should only have 2 answers. So don't write 3 answers, only 2. You're only getting answers from where letter x is. So that outside 2 that is a GCF, it does not have an x with it, so it will not give us an answer. So we're only going to get our answers from inside the parentheses. Don't forget, we're setting them equal to 0, and then we're moving it to the other side. So the x minus 6 will give me an answer of +6, and the x minus 3 will give me an answer of +3. And those are the 2 answers to this problem. So the level 3 problems will have 2 answers. And again, you only need to get one of these correct. So just make sure that you're being very precise and that you're being very careful on the first one that you do. And then you should only have to do one of these tonight. All right, that's it for today.